Okay, officially time for the second time to record this video, but that's besides the point, and you guys won't see the first one because it was not so pleasant. Okay, so League of Legends needs an overhaul. Now, everyone's probably thinking, what the fuck are you talking about? League of Legends is about to redo all of their items. They're completely overhauling all of that. So I don't know what you mean, sir, because clearly they're already doing it. And I ask you a simple question. Who of these champions do you play with more often? Okay, very, very simple question. Do you see more Akalis or do you see more Alistairs? Do you see more Camille's or do you see more Corgis? Do you see more Mundos or do you see more Echoes? Now, some of you are probably getting where I'm going with this. The newer and updated champions are played a lot more. Fior's played a ton more than Jax. Galio's played a ton more than Garn. Now, there are definitely a lot of like higher skill champions that I would say are still played more, like Lee Sin. But also, for the most part, those champions are more reasonably new as well. I see a ton more Aurelias than I see more Jinxes. I see a ton more Kaisas than I do Jinxes. I see a ton of what else can I go for? Lilias than I do LeBlancs. I see a ton of Lucians over what's another ADC, Misfortunes. Now, there are, like, not diamonds in the rough, the reverse rocks and the diamonds of, like, Mordekaiser. He was more recently redone, but yet again, like, kept his kit insanely simple, and guess what happened? He's still bad. I see a ton more Nunus than I see Nasus. I'm a ton of Pikes over... What's another support? Lulu, I guess. A ton of Pantheons over anybody. A ton of Sennas over Sejuani's. Like, I can't even remember the last time I've seen a Singed Sivir or Skarner. I've seen a ton of Swains, ton of Silas's, yet again, more recently. But these older champions are getting, like, well, at least what I see, a 10th of, like, the playtime of the newer ones. And that is kind of what I'm talking about right there. Where the newer champions have so many more things. Like, let's go to the store. It'll make it a little easier to see all the new stuff. Where, let's show owned. We have Samira. She's both she's an AD, ranged and melee. But yet she's also capable of just whisking away all of your abilities just like that. While her ult has a 0-second or like 3-second cooldown. My bad. But yet again, she can use it whenever, she gets her passive. I've seen her use her ult multiple times in a single fight. It's just like, that's insane. There's Yone, who has knockups, AP and AD damage, shields, a ton of different types of damage. As so many dashes. There's Lilia, who has one of the strongest CCs in the game, has high movement speed, has a ton of damage. There's Set, who has a decent amount of movement speed, shields, healing, extra damage, a ton of CC. The Philios I'm not even going to go over. Senna, just a lot of newer champions that just get played a ton because they have more and more and more, and they have a ton of outplay potential, and they have a ton of different options that they can pick from. When you look at, older champions, and you just sitting there like, I don't see the outplay potential here. It's because there isn't any. It's like you do the same thing over and over again, and you hope for the best. To where it's just like those other champions are basically not even in the game anymore. Like, as I said earlier, I genuinely cannot remember the last time I saw Skarner. Now, yeah, you're probably saying, oh, or like a few people in the world probably saying like, oh, I just played against Skarner the other day. How did he do? Because I'm assuming not too good. Yes, there's always the possibility that he just wrecked your entire team, but I don't think that's very likely. I can't remember the last time I saw Shyvana. Okay, actually, no, I do remember the last time I saw Shyvana, and that's back when she was building AP, and she would one-shot you with her E. The last time I saw Munda was ages. The last time I saw an Alistair and Annie, where honestly, in a previous video, these were things that I would have rejoiced for. I said, difficulty 1 champions like Annie, like, I guess Lux could kind of be in there, or like they were just easy champions to play, were just as strong as all these other champions. And I'm sitting there like, if I have to solve pi by the 10th power to play this champion, then I feel like I should have a bigger output. And you know what? Like, League of Legends, I don't know if they actually watched my video, but they definitely heard that message. Because they just made it so that all these newer champions have so much outplay potential. Like, even, like, Set. Set has a very basic kit. Like, he has health regen, plus some attack speed as a passive. Attack speed and movement speed as his Q. A big old shield that does true damage as his W. A stun with his E, and an ult that picks you up and fucking body slams you. He has not that complicated of a kit at all. Like, honestly, you look at it and you're like, okay, I can understand this. There's a little bit of figuring out to do with like his E and his W, but not a lot. Not a lot at all. Like timing with his R, where like skill does matter, but at the same time, it's still a pretty easy kit that goes the extra mile. Like, I don't know how else to describe it, because he can do shit that you just look at and you go, wow, I wish I could do something like that as these other characters. But yet again, his kit's simple, but he has so much outplay potential where he can actually do different things in a fight. And I do understand for the most part, he's just punching the shit out of you. And, to an extent, a lot of these champions are broken. Like, oh my god, I will fully 110% say that Samira, Yone, and Set are all broken. They're all broken. Like, not even a question, not a doubt in my mind. Lilia, the only thing I'd really say is broken about her is her R, but like, not a question. Silas is W. Pyke's R. A lot of these things that I would not consider balanced in the slightest. But they're in the game. They're extremely effective. They are widely played and widely loved. And you can just see where, you have... what's it called, like an Irelia, and a champion that has been reworked, that you can see that she's a bruiser, but yet her passive gives her attack speed and extra damage. Her Q gives her health, movement, and health and movement plus damage. Her W gives her damage reduction. Her E gives her a big ass stun. Her R disables enemies and slows. Actually, I think the disable might be taken off. I don't remember. Okay, there's a bruiser, and then right next to her, Trundle. What does Trundle have? He has move speed, slows, attack speed, and a heal. That is all. What does Mundo have? He has heals, slows, and more heals. What does Garen have? He has heals, a silence, a little bit of an extra tank, and a little bit and like an extra execute. But then we go to Galio. Galio has AoE. He has a lot of AoE. He has a lot of damage. He has a taunt. He has extra resistances with his taunt. He has mobility, like a tank with mobility. And he has the capability of giving other people resistances while knocking up a whole lot of other enemies. Like these high skill, like Gangplank, very high skill. Galio, not a ton of high skill, but also very, what's the words I'm looking for? He doesn't take a ton of skill to play, but he does have a decent amount of outplay potential. Compare mages, okay? Now she is an assassin mage, Let's just try to get to like 2 pure mages. I don't know. But like Sona. A lot of different AoE options, things like that. And then you look at like Pike or something. Or Pantheon, because people keep playing Pantheon support for whatever reason. Where it's just there's so many different things, so many changes. Like Gnosis's kit is so bare bones basic. And then you compare it to like an Aurelia, a Fiora. There's so much more to it. I'm going to do what I actually was talking about earlier, like Katarina versus Malzahar. Katarina has damage. She has mobility. She has the capability of blinking all around the place and an absolute ton of outplay potential. Then there's Malzahar. He will click on you, and that is all. He has a big button that's called an R, and then the rest of his buttons where he just smacks, and then he hits his R key. He's just a pure face roll. And then Katarina is kind of a face roll, but she's also a skillful face roll. Kog'Maw. Compare Kog'Maw to like Kai'Sa, one of the newer ADCs, and it is complete night and day, because Kog'Maw, he sits there, he hits his buttons, and he auto attacks. That's about it. Kai'Sa has to run around the darn battlefield, outplay you, and do all this extra shit. And you know, like there's a bigger reward for Kai'Sa. Same with like Miss Fortune. She hits her buttons, and then she hits her R. That's all she got. And that's why I'm saying that they should do a little bit of an overhaul. So the next part, so like when they release the new items, I think they should just maybe release 1 or 2 more champions, maybe rework 1 or 2 more champions, and then just take a step back. Say we're not going to release any more champions for a hot second, and we are going to overhaul all of the old ones. Now, I don't mean like a full overhaul of completely reworking all of them. That would be insane. That would be ridiculous. It would take way too long. And no, that's just a big no. But I feel like they could just go through this list and be like, what type of champion do we want you to be? And then like actually do the effort to make that into a champion. Like Zillion, honestly, I think he needs a very large change. Needs a ton of change. Xin Zhao really doesn't need that big of a change, just a few tweaks. Warwick really just needs a couple tweaks. Vladimir, I would say a medium change. Veigar, honestly, I would just say he needs like a medium change or a couple tweaks. Like what I was going to say a moment ago actually was that if you do watch this channel kind of reasonably, then you'll see that I have a thing known as the A to Z mini reworks, blah, blah, blah. My thoughts, ideas, changes, so on and so forth. Okay. This is I'm actually going to be done with that. I'm going to release the videos that I have left or already stored up, and then I'm going to be done with it because honestly, this video is going to kind of sum it all up. And the rest of this video is going to be kind of like a mini version of that. Or like Veigar. I loved one of the changes that they did, where every 50 stacks that he gets of his passive Phenomenal Evil, it decreases the cooldown of his W. Okay? Do that more. Like, he's literally just a walking midget that slowly shoots his Qs over and over and over again to eventually become a one-shotting capability. But yet then in the early game, he's just sitting there like, okay, I'm gonna... And like his E is good, but the rest of his kit is just kind of mediocre. He's extremely close range, and for a mage, that's extremely difficult to be. So, like, honestly, do more of that. Make it so that every 25 stacks, his Q's range increases by a minuscule amount. Nothing big. I'm not saying every time he gets 25 stacks, his Q doubles in range. No. Just, like, something that's, like, so little that, like, the first 100 stacks, you won't even notice it. But then, you know, you get to, like, a 30-minute game. You have 150 stacks. And you're like, huh, I can kind of see the range difference there. You know, you get to like a 40-minute game, you have 400 stacks, and you're like, wow, that Q is significantly longer. Like, you get to that late game pressure, and you just become that extreme late game presence. Where early game, you know, it helps. It definitely is going to help you a little bit more here and there. But late game is where it's really going to flow. Like, W, keep the W the same. Keep it so that it just lowers the cooldown. Or do both. Make it so that his, or like swap him, I mean. Make it so that his Q gets a lower cooldown, but his W actually becomes a bigger AoE. Make it so that every 100 stacks he gets, his E has a slow effect if you're on the inside of his E. That's one of the most annoying things in the world is Vigor, and I can kind of understand, like, that's the only counterplay you really have to Vigor, if you're stuck with his E without flash or a blink, is it just walking around in there. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if by the time you get 100 stacks, the game should already be like 10, 15 minutes in. By that time, there should be roaming. There should be other things going on. And because of that, it's just like if you're slowed from being on the inside, and I'm not saying a big slow, like a 10% slow, just something to help him land his WQ and get his combo off on you. That's literally it. You could still easily dodge it if you have like a dash, or even if you have just slightly increased movement speed. That's it. There you go, right there. Now, I wouldn't make any upgrades to his R. That's already strong enough. And then you got like Urgot. Like Urgot, it was so strong, then so weak, then so strong, then so weak again. Like, he was another one. He got changed, and he actually became extremely well played. The only thing that I thought was really stupid is that they had his W give him a ton of attack speed and a shield. Like, keep the Q the same, make it slow, keep the passive the same, maybe make that do a little bit more damage or something along that line. Keep the W the same right now, because right now, at max range, it has infinite range, where if you land your Q, it will never stop shooting you. And then, but like, throw the shield on his E. Make it so that when he dashes, if he hits you with his dash and he throws you, it gives him a shield for it. There you go. Like, there's survivability. There's damage. Keep the R the same. You know, maybe give him a little bit more survivability, is like every time he does part of his passive, that little blast out, he gets a small shield or a small amount of health back or something like that. Udyr, I definitely think needs a larger change. I'm not going to go through like literally everyone, but like Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate's another one. Where, like, honestly, I definitely think he should get like a medium change. I don't think he's played all that much anymore. Or change his passive, make it his E. Make his E his new passive. Whereas, but even better, make it, you know, every 4 auto attacks, his next auto attack does AP, and you're like, wow, that's terrible. But make it so that it's kind of like a Rise or a Vladimir, where if he builds attack speed, the attack speed increases in AP, and his AP increases his attack speed. Now, obviously, that won't stack on itself like Vladimir and Rise, but like that, where like now he's attacking extremely fast, and he's doing a ton of damage while doing it. You can keep the Q the same, keep the W the same. Now that his E is something different. Maybe, oof. I don't even really know what you'd make his new E, to be completely honest. I'm kind of sorry about that. But yeah, keep the R the same, things like that. Just do little tweaks besides that. I would do little tweaks to Soraka. I would honestly do a pretty medium to large change on Sona, large or medium to large change on Sivir, medium to large change on Singed. Rammus, I think, could just use a little update here and there. Shaco, I definitely think, could do an update. Olaf could definitely get an update. Gnosis really needs an update, in my opinion. Like, he definitely could do a lot of changes. Master Yi. Master Yi and Malzahar were actually 2 champions that I was, like, really getting into changes that you could do for. Honestly, I'm sorry if any of my A to Z's do repeat the things that I'm saying. I really am. Where change it to so, like, his passive is Wuju style. Make it so that like a part of all of his auto attacks is true damage. Just a very, very little part that only increases with level, doesn't increase with damage or anything like that. Just like he does this much true damage with every auto, and it does take part of his attack damage to do it, okay? And that just increases with what's it called? Level. Okay? Simple enough. Keep his W the same. Make his keep his Q the same. Keep his W, make it only a heal. Don't give him magic resist or armor or damage reduction, whatever it does. That's stupid. Don't do that. Make his E, since now that his E was his old passive, make his E his, like, what his passive was before. Make it so that you activate it, and the next time you auto attack twice. but then add some like crazy new shit in there from that like a new champion would have, where every time he has a blade item, and I did say item, yes. So if he has a dust blade, if a Yomu's ghost blade, but even if it doesn't say blade in it, like if he has an infinite edge or bloodthirster, like those are blades, an essence reaver, if he has a blade item, make it so that instead of just his next auto attack doing 2, for every blade item he has, adds 1 more auto attack. We're not like he auto attacks and then he auto attacks you 3 times. Make it so he auto attacks you once, he auto attacks you twice. Or like then he hits you a second time, okay? He auto attacks you again because he has Dustblade, and then he hits you, so he auto attacks you twice but hits you 4 times because he has Dustblade. And maybe like boosts of attack speed. Now, I definitely see where it could be a little ridiculous if maybe he builds 5 or 6 of the little blades, the daggers that give attack speed, because then, you know, that's going to be him hitting you 12 times and 6 auto attacks. But so like there, I maybe change it so that it has to be a level 2 or level 3 item instead of a level 1. But add something like that. Change his ult so that it doesn't give attack speed, because that would kind of make his E is a little broken. But it gives movement speed, tenacity. That way he can take actual CC from other things and keep on running. And full resistance to slows. Something like that. Like there's a decent amount of changes. Malzahar. I had a lot of changes for Malzahar. Make it so that his passive, when he has the shield up, only change it a little bit so that he doesn't have the shield up all the time. And when he has the shield up, it's going to be more like a Yasuo shield, where it's not a set shield. It's just like he gets hit and then after that it goes away. It's not going to be damage reduction either. It's just going to be like a magic shield with maybe a small amount of damage reduction, like teeny tiny. But make it so that when he has that shield up, he also has bonus attack speed. And you're like, Malzahar with attack speed. And you're like, yes. Why? Because make it so that his Q is a skill shot. Instead of him just placing his dots on someone, he's going to shoot a skill shot, and if it hits someone, then it places the dots on them. And make it so that instead of when it spreads to the next enemy, make it so that if the enemy die, it spawns a voidling. Okay, you're a little bit confused now, like, wait a minute, why? Okay, if they die, it spreads a creates a voidling. Make it so that if he lands 2 Qs on, like he throws a Q, hits someone, they have the dots on him. He throws another Q, hits someone, now the dots will spread to all enemies around where like that enemy is. Like that sounds very cool. Have his W automatically spawn 4 voidlings that run at the enemies that he's damaging. Make it so that the voidlings, their attack speed is based off of your attack speed. That's where his passive thing comes in. And whenever the Voidling auto-attacks something, it will lower the cooldown of your Q. You're probably thinking, why? Because a Voidling will be able to get hit by your Q. And it will actually go on them and slowly damage them. But it will make it so that every time they auto-attack something, they put the dots on them as well. And when they die, instead of, because it's going to spawn another Voidling, it'll spawn an even stronger Voidling. Not only that, but now you could throw your Q at them again, and now it's spread to all of your Voidlings, plus all the enemies, and now as soon as one of them die, bam, you now have an increased strong Voidling. Not only that, but you could make it so that the Voidlings, as they do damage, they slowly fill a bar above their head. When the bar fills, they multiply. Like, they can create 1 or 2 more of themselves, so you could just have an army of Voidlings. And change the E to basically be what his new R, where he would throw a little ball at you. If he hits you with the ball directly, it would stun. If he misses, then it would create a little circle on the ground, a line and a circle from you. If you stand in either of those areas for a longer amount of times, then you get rooted or something like that, just some CC. And then make his R, so it's not a point and click whatever impairment or whatever that it's considered. Make his R kind of like a Karthus wall, where kind of like the ability he has right now, where he makes the 2 little dots that then connect and silence enemies. He'll just make a giant wall of the 2, like he'll make 2 little dots and then they'll connect, and the wall will stay there for a hot second, and if you walk through the wall, you get slowed and silenced. Something like that. Kog'Maw, make it so that his passive isn't completely useless. Change Jax a little bit. Definitely change Heimerdinger. Change Janna. Definitely change Garn. I had a lot of changes that I would do for Garn, but I've already been talking a while, so yeah. But change Amumu. Change Alistair. Where is he? Where's the one that, like, change Skarner? For the love of God, give Skarner a rework, because he's just not played anymore. Don't change Riven. Fuck Riven. Change Wukong a little bit, even though he's was changed and now he's kind of stupid. But, like, take these champions that I haven't seen in ages. Change Victor. And make them playable again. Like, the newer games, you're just getting a high skill, high outplay potential, which, you know, I like. Or not necessarily high skill, but high outplay potential, a whole lot in their kit. Like, not necessarily an overloaded kit, but a loaded kit. Versus champions that were made a while ago that barely have squat in their kit. Change them. Make it so that they actually have these things in their kit now. And then, bam. Like, do that with enough champions, and it could completely turn around a lot of champions in this game. Like, Yorick and Skarner could go from, like, the least played champions ever to actually good champions that maybe people want to play. Like, I honestly enjoyed playing a Skarner for a while, but, like, right now, he's just so unbearable. Same with Rek'Sai. Like, I don't know what direction they want to take Rek'Sai in, but I just consider Rek'Sai to be one of the most difficult champions to play in the world right now. Because you just, I don't know how to describe it. Rek'Sai just doesn't have a flow right now. You don't do damage. You really don't. Well, actually, you do more damage than you tank, but you don't do a lot of damage. You don't tank a lot because you die so fucking quick. And you don't have a place in the game right now. Rek'Sai really doesn't. I think the only time Rek'Sai is good is when there's great communication. And that is it. But yeah, so please, if you can, maybe get this out in the world, get it to Riot Games, see what they do, see if they care. I don't know. If they want to ask me about any of the ideas, because honestly, I think some of the ones I just said are pretty good ideas that they could definitely put on champions. Then I will gladly respond. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment if you agree or disagree or anything, and yeah, I'll gladly get back to you. So thank you all very much for watching, and I will bid you all adieu. Goodbye.